What's happening, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 72. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and today I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
It's the Throwdown Questions now.
Brett Murdock.
I'm not singing.
Nope. And special guest for tonight, Mr. Negative himself, John Phipps.
At some point tonight during this podcast, my shirt's coming off.
Hey, thank you for warning us. You know, how's the super deformed gamecast going, my brother?
It's going, man. It's going. We just did episode, I think it was 22 this past week. We gave away our first game. We gave away a copy of Street Fighter V. So I apologize to the individual who won that.
Yes.
You know, I've got my own issues with Street Fighter V. We can get into that later. But yeah, no, things are going well, man. We're slowly building a dedicated fan base. We've got the same people tuning in every week and getting active in the chat. So it's all good, man.
That's awesome. And we haven't done this in a little bit. Brett, and this is important too, we need an update on Rachel because things have kind of taken a little bit of a turn.
Oh,
if you want to talk about it, because I could just talk about it if you don't want to do it.
I'll keep it brief. Rachel.
Yeah, if you've seen her Twitter, you guys gotta know what's going on now.
Rachel has had a recurrence. The tumor has reappeared in the same place that it was, and it has spread to her arm bone, out into some of the skin, and potentially into her lungs. So it is now considered stage 4. The positives that we have on our side is that we've enrolled in a clinical trial for lymphedema chemotherapy, which seems to be showing some progress or some promise, along with a platinum-based chemotherapy, which they're hoping will have some effect. We are also looking into a series of out-of-state treatment options, which show a lot of promise, but we'll have to fund the money for. We're actually going to be I wasn't going to say it this way, but we're going to be looking at running a Kickstarter. So if you or anybody that you know be interested, if not to donate, then to help us broadcast the message, because unfortunately her Twitter was pretty well shut down or silenced due to her being a Gamergate supporter. Weird.
You can. I don't want to cut you off, man, but make sure you get your contact info to Tony so you can pass it to me. I'll throw it out on my Twitter feed, and we'll promote it on the podcast for the next few weeks.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. I still have yet to write it up. I'm going to make sure I'm getting the exact price for the treatment and her dosages and everything like that. So I appreciate the help, and I appreciate the condolences we've been getting from everybody. They're very helpful, and we'll keep everybody appraised. I was going to let everybody know this a little bit when I had things more fleshed out, but word gets around, and I appreciate everybody's concern. Where we stand on this is, it's bad news, but we're not giving up. It's not in any of our organs, and by the very definition of a clinical trial, we are on the cutting edge of medication. We are using the stuff that doesn't have a record because it's that new. So, fingers crossed, these guys know what they're doing, and we're going to see where we go from here, but we're staying positive.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And thank you for giving us the update on that, for sure. And yeah, since we'll get into that whole Twitter thing later, we talked about this on the show before, that Twitter bullshit console. There you go. This is what you get, right? Yeah, let's keep the cancer person, from getting the word out to reach out to help, because she was affiliated with Gamergate. Like I told Brett before the show, like, I wish a meteor would just hit this fucking planet and just really let us get back to what's important, because this is fucking stupid.
Yeah, I just want to point out, since we're on the topic, and I am just like fumingly angry about it, Twitter's whole protection policy has basically coddled a bunch of people who's afraid their feelings are being hurt by the fact that somebody can actually disagree with them, and as a consequence is proving to be a very real obstacle in getting a very sick woman a treatment that could possibly be the difference between life and death. So I just kind of want to point out here, like, who the fuck is really being hurt here?
Yeah.
Because it seems like it's my wife, and I am in no way okay with this. And you can be damn sure I'm going to raise hell over this. But as it stands, I just wanted to point out the complete and blatant hypocrisy of the whole situation.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely got to get that out because, again, we talked about this. This shit is dangerous. You can't just silence people because you get shit like this happening, you know? Just because your feelings are hurt. Get the fuck out of here. This person's actually being hurt because of this nonsense, or potentially, you know? It's fucking insane. Anyway, you know, the show must go on, as always. And I don't know what the hell happened with you guys out there this week. You didn't ask any questions. Like, we got some at the last minute, but Final Stage Boss was the only dude who had questions for the entire week. It's like, I don't know. Remember, guys, we don't have a show without you guys. And this is like the 72nd episode. This is the first time it's happened. So I guess that's a credit to, you guys. But come on, man. You got to step it up, But thankfully, Mr. Fan of Ash swooped in at the last minute. I'm like, dude, ask as many questions as you want. And Brett, I'm glad you're here because he has a lot. Most of these are VR-based questions, so you'll be very happy about that.
I have a lot to say on VR.
I'm glad you do because some of these questions I'm like, like the Vive, I didn't know about this shit. Like I think I saw like a conference they had today. I don't know. Anyway, we'll get into that. But let's jump in. Mr. Final Stage Boss, as always, leads us off here. Brett, too bad you don't have your camera tonight. If you had to get a tattoo of a video game character or logo, what would it be and where would you put it? I would probably choose the Fubar dagger on my upper left arm. Something tells me Brett already has a few. Yes, he does. Of course he does, and if you could see it, I do as well. Kuma symbol, got it right here on my right arm for you guys who are listening and stuff. And I want to get the Mass Effect Paragon Renegade, like one here and then one here. That's my next goal. John, what about you, man?
Oh, I already know what I would get. I'll never get it because my wife would probably slaughter me. But I would get It's Dangerous to Go Alone. Take this right here. Next question.
Yeah, Manny, what about you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't like anything enough to kind of put it on my body. So it'd be a long, arduous process. I would probably not get anything game related on me. Oh, though I do know my cousin Adam Vale, who's the big Twitter guy. Anyway, he has Diablo written over his crotch. Like
okay.
like essentially the belt under the belly button. It says Diablo there, and then on his arm he's got a Gears of War cog.
That's generic. Everybody. I feel like if you took a poll of all video game related tattoos, 75% would be that damn Gears of War cog on somebody's shoulder or their forearm.
The difference between that the cog that everyone else is because I did an alternate redesign on that one, so it's special.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, people, Manny actually designed this one too.
Oh shit! Look at me doing tattoo designs, and then it's like, then Brett goes,
like, man, I do that 3 times. I do that 3 times before breakfast.
It's funny that we're talking about tattoos because a while ago I was asked on Twitter by somebody like, oh yeah, man, I would love to have a piece of your art on my arm or something like that. Is there any chance you could design me something? I usually don't try to design anything for people because I know in general tattoo artists know how these things work on the body. They have to understand how it essentially will go over the arm and stuff like that. And I, if I put too much detail or stuff like that, that's all stuff that I feel a tattoo artist knows better. So if you ever get a design, want to put a design on you, you probably want to go to your tattoo artist and make sure that that it'll work. Am I right?
You know what would ruin it, Manny? It always comes out of a place that's unexpected. People with tattoos are very picky about the nuts and the bolts of the tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
So what you could, and I use the term quote unquote get away with very loosely here, but what you can get away with in terms of regular art where marks can, like, you can have like a lot of really cool marks around the eye that make a texture that kind of imply a shape and add kind of dramatic value. The problem is if you try that in tattoos, people will look at just a very small spot at a time, like about a dime-sized spot. They'll run over it over months at a time, and then they'll come back and they'll be like, okay, so like the nose doesn't really connect to the lip right here. Like this part of the lip, like the line kind of breaks and then it connects again on the bottom side of the lip. And you're like, yeah, it's a breakaway line. It's designed like that. It's because there's kind of a light cast across the front of the face. It makes for, softer, more broken silhouette. And they're like, yeah, that really bothers me. And so they'll like, okay, well, I guess we'll connect that line, and then we'll connect all these other lines, and then we'll clean up a couple of these lines which technically don't need to be there, but they add to it. And then you have a couple of these dashes. They remove all the hatching. They tend to homogenize a tattoo. That is changing now in the sense that where portrait art is getting more prevalent. Halftone art is getting more prevalent. Kind of ink sketch line with a kind of watercolor underlay is getting more prevalent. So you can get away with that now more. But the problem for the longest time was that every time you tried to do something a little bit avant-garde, somebody looks at it out of context and they go, yeah, well, can we just put a big, thick, single weight line around the whole thing, just, so it reads better? And you're like, oh, fuck me. So my biggest problem with clients is them, pissing in the pool, so to speak, which, it's why I recommend when you go to your tattoo artist, definitely have an idea of the things that you want to see, but don't try and put them in the way that you think that they're going to be, because most likely you're not taking into account vanishing lines. There's kind of an event horizon thing that goes on when wrapping tattoos around the body. You're not understanding size. You're probably not even thinking in terms of middle ground, foreground, background, or perspective, or any of those things. So, and a tattoo is foreground, middle ground, and background and perspective are really important things to take into account when designing a tattoo, because like as you're going down the arm, you want to obviously have things come closer to the quote-unquote camera as they come down. But then again, the camera is actually spinning around a cylinder, so you have to kind of plan for that. It's a very weird mindset. Like, it kind of reminds me of trying to build a cohesive scene with perspective around the outside of a cup. Like, you get there and you're like, there's some really weird lines of convergence that happen with my perspective here, so now I need to go back and adjust the whole thing from the beginning. So there's lots of little things. In terms of like, is Manny qualified to design a tattoo? Absolutely. Would it require a couple small augmentations, most likely, in terms of what's going to age well? Sure. Yeah, mostly for the most part. The only real problem comes in when you're designing large areas, like an arm that connects, or an entire sleeve, or an entire leg sleeve, or a back piece. Actually, back pieces are pretty easy. That's one flat large area. But even the idea of taking a scene and sewing it back around on itself around the underside, so then it creates one cohesive flowing piece, and then you have to worry about, for instance, like, you never see the bottom side of the arm and the top side of the arm at the same time. So while it has to be a cohesive blend, you don't actually have to have a visual perspective that's consistent between the underside and the top side. So sometimes you do a little bit of a visual illusion where you have perspective A from the top side and then an even blend, and then from the bottom side you have a different perspective, but the event horizon of both images kind of crosses over and blends seamlessly into each other. So from the back it looks fine, from the front it looks fine, from the inside it looks fine, but if you put it on paper it looks weird.
Interesting.
Does that make any sense to anybody?
Yep, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
But I always defer to try to be like, listen, you should do like any sort of commission to me. Like, you find a tattoo artist that really fits the style that you're looking for, or can do the style that you're looking for. You should probably go to them and have them design it. I that's at least my thought on it. And my girlfriend, who has a lot of tattoos, usually does that when she goes out. But then again, she's kind of more of a serious tattoo enthusiast than most.
Yeah. Well, and the key is really like a good tattoo artist. A good tattoo artist will be proficient in his or her home style. A great tattoo artist will be able to replicate a wide variety of styles, and the very best tattoo artists can replicate every single style. and those are like a handful in the world. I'm not even going to claim to be up at that. That is, there are a lot of people that never get to that point in their career, but we can all try. I can at least say that I'm proficient in just about every style. The only thing that I really, really kind of balk at is super fine powder gray, large scale portrait work. Like if you want a whole back piece where you have this smooth, even gradient powder blend that's somewhere between 10 and 15% contrast the entire way through and flawlessly unmarred, fuck that shit. I'm a color artist. I can do you some fine black and gray, but you want that powder gray, large swath shit. Like there's only a few people in the world that can do that. That's the reason Jack Rudy is so fucking famous. So I'm nerding out on tattoos over here. So
I gave you a chance, man. All right, let's move on here. This is a good one. My mother can't believe I still play video games. Have you ever been told video games are just for kids, or you're too old for video games, or something along those lines? If so, what was your response?
Yeah, by stupid bitches. And that's when you're like, never mind. I don't got time for you.
You just ignore them?
Dude, like, okay, there was a point in my life where before I met Rachel, I had gone through a series of relationships, and I had come out, I had been single for about 2 years, and I kind of started getting back in the dating scene, and I had no idea what I was doing. But the whole, like, I would meet people, and, like, most of my socializing came from people with tattoos. And so I'd meet these girls who, like, let's call a spade, they were kind of tattoo groupies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I inevitably found myself, like, an uncountable amount of times, like, hanging out in somebody's apartment, like, sparsely furnished apartment, while they play beer pong with a blonde girl, like, 6 years my younger, and every time I'd just be like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Be like, hey, anybody play the new God of War? I'd be like, oh, we don't play that shit. Be like, and I'm leaving. Good day to you all. And then I kindly make my exit. There are people who are going to be closed-minded about that kind of thing, and that's exactly what it is. It's closed-minded. That's not a perception. Video games are. Go ahead.
No, I was just want to say, Brett, it's not even so much closed-mindedness, in my opinion. I mean, it's just a sign of the times. There's kind of a schism between, the way our parents and aunts and uncles had it coming up, and the way guys like us did. Like, video games weren't a thing back then, right? So nobody really knew how to define them. And then when, at the kind of what I consider the dawn of the era of the modern game console, which was the NES, it was a glorified toy to a lot of people. And at this point, for example, my parents were in their mid-30s and mid-late 30s, and that's what it was to them. But to us, it's to guys who came up like us, it's something more. And so I think you can answer it for me anyway, like in two ways. One, people who say that, I just gently remind them that the age of the average gamer now is 30 to 35. So games are very much have games just as any form of art does, or any social media. It evolves over time, just like we do. And games have evolved alongside us. And games have grown up with us. Think about the games we played in 1986. Double Dragon and Bad Dudes, and I played Bad Dudes. And River City Ransom, and now we have games like The Last of Us and Journey, and games with these emotive experiences that provoke a very powerful emotional response. And then for me, the other thing is games for me represent kind of a safe haven for me. I grew up in a household with serious physical abuse, and that was my escape, was going upstairs and popping a Chrono Trigger and finding all the endings. And so to me, games represent not. Yes, it may come off as childish to some people, but video games, in a very literal sense, define or helped sculpt who I am today, and they continue to do so. And so, if anybody, and to anybody who's listening, if anybody gives you hell about how video games are childish and stupid, my advice would be to just ignore it, and do what you want to do, because life's too short to worry about what other people think. That's just me.
I would agree with most of that. The reason that I say it's a closed-minded opinion is I think it's very hard to argue at this point in time where we stand today, that video games haven't evolved into an artistic medium capable of quite a bit of expression, quite a bit of depth. So you can hold on to, and that's what a lot of these people do, in my opinion. They hold on to this knowledge or this past idea that video games are a toy, that they're very limited in their approach, but they're not anymore. So that's the reason I call it. I say it's a closed-minded experience, and I'm not speaking about the nostalgia or anything like that. I'm speaking strictly if somebody at today's day and age can look at the medium of video games and say that is a child's activity, then they clearly do not understand the depth and the breadth of the industry as it stands today. They're holding on.
No. I completely agree with what you're saying. The only point I'm making is that it's a close-mindedness, but it's not somebody being ignorant for the sake of being ignorant. It's just what video games represented to them, and it all depends on whether or not something clicks with us. Like video games just click with me. They didn't click with other people. But they clicked with me, and
more derogatory. Like that's one thing I want to make clear that I absolutely agree with you on. Like there's no malice in the whole video games are kind of a kid's thing. Well, 90% of the time there's no malice in it. It's not somebody necessarily judging you. But where I think I do disagree with you is I personally, my reaction to a lot of people when they say, "Oh, isn't that a kid's thing?" is and maybe I'm a bit aggressive here, but I'm a big fan of public shaming, and I'm a big fan of confidence. I'm a big fan of there is a sort of butting of heads that comes when you challenge somebody's ideals. And if you apologize or squirm or back down, that's going to make you seem like you're trying to rationalize. So my favorite thing to do in that kind of situation is look somebody square in the eye and say, yes, of course I play video games. It's a modern form of art. Why would you not play video games? You should be unapologetic. And my reaction would be, in a perfect world, the response would be, yeah, why shouldn't I play video games? There's every reason to. It's a form of art, and throughout history, people have commonly had this exact same reaction to books, to movies, to music, to comic books, to anything that's new and anything that's on the verge. Any kind of new medium that they didn't have when they were kids is ideally infantilized by people. So yeah, I absolutely love video games, and there's absolutely no reason not to. And
and I'll just end on this. I don't get it a lot because I'm a 6'3", 220-pound amateur boxing former Marine, so nobody's gonna come up to me and say, "Hey, video games are stupid," because they're gonna get some of that, and they're gonna get some of that. Yeah. So that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, there are people going to say stupid shit no matter what. Like, if you're a lion trainer, people are going to be like, "What are you going to get a job that's good for your family?" Like, I've been tattooing long enough that I've had people ask me when I'm going to get a real job. I'm sure people have made derogatory statements toward Manny's career being an artist. Be like, "So what? You just draw all day?" or something stupid like that.
I get the same dumb shit too, Brett.
I've actually had my father do a little silly joke at me, like before he actually understood what I did. He'd be like, "So, when are you gonna get a real job?" And then the only time that he actually kind of stopped kind of bugging me about it is when I actually gave him a tour of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles production studio, and then he got it. Yeah,
you're like, "Hey, Dad, this is what I do."
This is what I do. And I showed him all the different parts and talked to all my bosses, the director of our show and stuff, and then at that point he's like, "Oh, okay, doing something."
No, I completely sympathize. I mean, this is, if you guys see right here, I mean, this is what's going on in my basement, right? Like that, those are the shelves in my basement right now.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad, just like me, former Marine, very tough, walks downstairs. "What the hell is this shit?" And I'm like, "Dad, I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm a huge nerd." So there you go. There it is.
What is this baby stuff?
Yeah. What is this? What is this bullshit on your wall, son? You're too old for them toys.
Dude, I actually get a lot of that because our tattoo shop is Star Wars themed. It's called Dark Side Tattoo, and it's full of Sith and Star Wars, and just everything. It's kind of amazing. The whole shop's in red and black. We've got a 4-foot tall Kylo Ren when you come in. There's TIE fighters hanging from the ceiling. It's pretty fucking cool. And definitely. What's that?
Brett, I just want to congratulate you on not calling it Tatooine.
I have a new idea for a T-shirt, though.
That would have been too easy.
So yeah. Oh man, I'm sorry.
Ray got
I got
fucked up
distracted by
over
the fact.
that.
I just got distracted by the fact that my boss constantly yells at me. He's like, "You can't call them sand people. They're Tuscan Raiders." I was like, "They're motherfucking sand people."
Yes.
To which he says is racist, and I say you can't be racist towards sand people. Anyway, so yeah, we work in a very nerd-themed tattoo shop, and we get some very, classic tattoo biker guys come through, and they're like, "So, what's with all the spaceships and stuff around the shop?" And like, generally, if you explain it to them, like, you'd be surprised how. I'm not sure if it's that people are actually open-minded and can get into something, or if it's the fact that I'm holding a needle and I'm acting like I'm right. It could honestly be either. But people don't tend to talk shit. They'll be like, okay, I can kind of see where you're coming from. That's why, yeah, that's right, you do.
Yeah.
So, but my point is that even skeptics, even people that you think would be outside the box, like you can find common ground if you look hard enough.
Yeah, I mean, with me, I get the same shit too. Always like, it's not really more because like video games, like they don't understand the concept of it. It's like, and you get paid to write about games. Like the whole concept doesn't even make sense to them, So I get a little incredulous. I'm like, yeah, I get paid to write. Does that seem that?
Does it matter what it's about?
Yeah,
Tony. No, Tony. Those are the same people who say, "You mean there's a whole website about video games?"
Yeah, and I'm like, actually, there's many thousands of websites.
Yeah.
And like, okay, so you're going to a convention? Like, can you buy tickets? No, it's E3. It's only for guys like us. What does that mean? Like, they don't understand any of this stuff. So I kind of just give them like a basic thing. And kind of brush them off. I know maybe I'm an asshole about it, but it's like, listen, if you're gonna be stupid, not understand what video games are about, I'm not gonna explain it to you. You're lost to me, And I think you're right. It's a generational thing. It's like, older people, they don't get it, so don't even bother with them. People your age, if they start with that nonsense, you need to really, like, maybe not physically, obviously, but it's like verbally slap them upside the head with that nonsense. Video games are just as viable as fucking movies, books, all that nonsense. I don't know how the hell in 2016 and still perpetuate this bullshit. I mean, this is what I gave up fucking the Big Bang Theory. It's such a fucking insult, but that's the prevailing thing out there. Like, this is video game, this is nerd culture. It's like, really, we're still going with this dumb shit? So I do get a little testy when people come up to me to talk to me about this. So like, oh, what do you mean? Video games?
Tony, this is a fact, and you can throw this at people. I mean, the video game industry pulls in more money than books, music, or movies. It is the highest-grossing entertainment medium there is.
But they look at you like you're crazy if you tell them that. Even as a fact.
But the thing is that our kids, like my son is 7 years old, and he loves video games. He loves his games. He loves his 3DS. He loves his PlayStation 4, and he's going to grow up in a world in my house where video games are the norm. And they're not childish. They're something to be celebrated and enjoyed. And I think as the younger generation comes up, you're going to see kind of like that paradigm shift. And that's not a Final Fantasy 13 reference, by the way. I'm actually using the word paradigm shift. But you're going to kind of see that. Okay, now I just got Final Fantasy 13 stuck in my head. But you're going to see that paradigm shift towards away from, oh, this is a childish medium, you shouldn't be involved in stuff like this, grow up and get a job, as opposed to fathers, 60-year-old fathers, hooking up and playing Star Wars Battlefront 5 with their kids over PlayStation 7, and I think that's something really cool. Hideo Kojima made a really good point about a year ago. He was giving an interview, and he said video games are now intrinsically entrenched in our culture in a way that we're just now beginning to understand. He says books and music, and he says these things didn't go away; they just evolved. CDs went away, but music didn't go away. Now it's just digital, and the same holds true for video games. 100, 200 years from now, video games will still exist. And they are now part of our culture in a way that, in the very same vein that a movie or music or books are. You have movies, books, and music, and now video games, and that's that. They're not going anywhere, and people just need to get used to that.
Can I suggest? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I suggest, like, I always love this argument that, and I make it myself all the time, that, it's the same thing that it was with movies and the same thing it was with books and things like that. But I want to point out here that maybe we're looking at this wrong. Maybe these aren't all separate things. Maybe this is an evolution of one medium. You start out with oratory storytelling, right? You start out with stories, and then you write it down, and then you make them longer because you can remember them, and then you can make them expansive. And then they took those same ideas, and likewise the music started flourishing, and then they found a way to create to combine pictures and movies and music, and they found a way to create the idea of communal storytelling in the sense of D&D and way back to old stories, and they found a way to converge all of this into one medium. And video games may not necessarily be this new medium as much as a convergence of all of these mediums and trying to find a way to harmonize them. We could actually look back in 200 years and say that was one of the most important ways to fundamentally understand the world around us. We will soon be teaching children in the next generation or two in virtual reality. We will be virtually transporting them to the bottom of the ocean. We'll be putting them in space. We'll be training them for situations that are terrifyingly dangerous, but they will be able to do in relative safety. And this will probably be by the time where they have like tactile response. So you'll be able to train somebody on the feel of how it feels to tighten a bolt on the International Space Station before they ever leave the Earth. Like, this is going to be a convergence of not just mediums but technology for the betterment of all people. And I hate to sound melodramatic about it, but let's just fucking stop and think about this for a second. This could be as important as the written word, the ability to use or the ability to manipulate a situation as if you were there, not just passively garner information, but actively and reactively garner information. It is a paradigm shift, as you said.
Well, I mean, wait till VR comes on the scene, and you're going to see that what you just said is just going to explode. I mean, regardless of what people think about VR, I expect that a lot of the childish. Video games or childish arguments will cease once people start putting VR headsets on and they become part of an immersive experience as opposed to a passive observer.
Yeah. I can see, like, one day we'll actually be sitting back and talking about how part of military basic training is being put through simulations as part of your boot camp.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right.
So
next,
wait, I didn't even actually get to answer that question.
Yeah, Manny didn't even get the answer.
I thought you did. You talked about your dad and stuff.
I talked about my dad and my job, but
okay.
And I'm actually, Manny, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I need to take off, guys.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks for being on, dude.
Sorry, I wasn't able to hang around longer, man. But I gotta wake up in the morning.
Oh, no problem, man.
By the way, John, a little bit of an honor because we very rarely have guests on this show. So you're like the second dude basically. So congrats on that.
I appreciate it, man. Well, when I first started this, somebody said if you make it on Throwdown Your Questions, you've made it. So I guess I'm officially there, man. I'm up there with the big boys. So anybody listening to this, I'll give myself a quick plug. Feel free to visit our YouTube channel, Super Deforms Gamescast. We're live every Thursday at 8 p.m. and we're huge fans of what Tony's doing with the Throwdown. We tune in every week, and we hope you guys do as well. But also, come and check us out. And with that, I'll stop talking so Manny can give his what I'm sure is going to be a very excellent answer. And I will catch the rest of the episode later. Sorry again for having to leave early, guys.
All right, no problem, man. Thank you for being on, dude.
All right, boys.
It's good having you, bud.
Yeah, hey, and Brett, make sure I get your contact info, by the way. Okay.
I'll pass it along through Tony. Thank you very much, sir.
Please do. Thanks, man.
All right, man.
All right. So it's interesting. I haven't really gotten that from anybody where they said, "Oh, you still play video games." It really, I mean, especially with our circle of friends and stuff like that, it's never gotten to that point. I've never.
Yeah. By the way, I do want to preface it with I've never gotten it directly. It's the way they say it. You know what I mean? Like video games. Like that. But I've never gotten that's for children. I've never gotten that.
No, I've never gotten that because the thing is my even with my father, he always used to play. He always used to play with us, play Tekken and all that stuff. He loved this stuff as much as we all did. So he really didn't get to he wasn't at that point where he's oh, you guys are still playing this stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I
So,
see. I haven't gotten it from older people, and I think the reason for that is like people my parents' age, like they just think young people play video games. Like oh, my son plays video games. Like they think it's just kind of a thing, and it's one of those like weird. Like you always see somebody if you've known them since 10, you always kind of see them at that age. Like you always kind of see your I hate to get too scientific about it, you always kind of see your mate at the age approximately that you met and fell in love. Like it's this weird trick your brain plays on you. But I also think that it happens in a more widespread sense like this. So I think older people are actually like, oh yeah, kids play video games. Anybody under 40 fucking plays video games. That's how it is, right? They all have PlayStations. I've actually gotten this more from women my own age, women actually younger than me, and it's not even that they seem to think like, oh, it's a kids thing. Like I can't tell you how many girls I've met, and you're like, yeah, I play video games. They're like, oh, you play video games, and you immediately think like they're like gonna be like, oh, that's a child's behavior, but no, they're immediately like, oh, like you just sit around and play Call of Duty. Like, no, I'm not one of those guys. I'm not one of those video gamers. I enjoy a good immersive narrative that feeds my intellectual imagination, something that gets the cylinders firing upstairs. And they're like, oh, okay, well, okay. And a lot of times they don't understand it, but then the judgment slides off. So I'm not even sure if it's so much that a lot of people think that you're immature in the sense that like they think that you're 12. I think it's gamers have a bad reputation of having a mental age of 12, but actually being 20-some-year-old frat boy. So yeah, the end result of them implying you're immature is the same, but I think it's in a different way than you take it. You just kind of hear like oh, you play video games. Like they're not saying you're 12. You're saying, oh, you're one of those grown men.
Yeah, that's a good point. But Manny, go ahead.
But yeah, never had it. Never had any of that sort of stuff, or either that, or I just don't pay attention.
Yeah,
and you also exist in a magical fairy world of artists and awesome people.
I don't know. I mean, I've never been one to go out to like bars looking for for a date or anything like that. I actually hate the bar, that sort of environment, because I feel that area seems to be more oppressive than most other places, because you feel pressure,
Yeah, like no, most of the places that I've received these from are like there's a weird cross section in tattoo world. Like I'll tattoo people who like get a Chiefs tattoo because they're just super hardcore into football. Like there's no fucking eye to eye there. And so like I meet people of like vastly different social worlds. The one thing I've actually realized is that you can, and people often do, kind of build this world around themselves. This actually probably says a lot about life in the video game world too. People like they kind of converge among like-thinking people, and they build this world for themselves, and they generally eventually kind of start to think that everybody in the world actually holds these views, when in fact they've just kind of converged. So like I've found a lot of like when I break into artist crowds and people who know artists, musicians, things like that, they tend to be a lot more accepting. Like I was actually shocked the first time I went to Comic-Con and ran into a bunch of comic creators and found out there was a lot of like scrawny, pale, burnt out cynics with a bunch of tattoos and a love for video games. I was like, holy shit, I found my people. Like I'm even kind of the odd duck in the tattoo world. A lot of those guys are real blue collar, bikes and football and beer and blah blah blah. And I like to try to pull the whole alpha male bullshit. Or they're like the Ed Hardy motherfuckers with bedazzled jeans and fucking Ray-Bans and a slick back. So like there's a lot of really like classic stereotypical alpha male douchebags in the tattoo world. And some of them play video games, some of them don't. Some of the clients do, some of the clients absolutely don't. Some of the clients are just, they can't understand a world outside of tailgating, barbecue, and fishing. And if you try to imply that you like playing video games, they're like, I'll sit down and watch a movie sometimes, but that's about it. I don't sit in front of my TV that much. I like to sit and whittle. And you're like, the fuck is, like, how do you even exist? So there's pockets of those people. I think thankfully, by the time most of us are grown, we've already kind of established our social circles. We don't really run into people that far outside of them, except for your relatives. Relatives are always just a weird mixed bag of nuts.
Yeah, exactly. And that's usually who I would get those sort of responses from my relatives. Outside of that, not really. Most people seem to get it for the most part. I mean, there are some people who still kind of give you the eye. It's like video games. By the way, not related, but still partially related. Here's the other response I get. This one almost annoys me a little bit more. Oh, you play games? So you play Warcraft and Call of Duty? No, get the fuck out of here. I don't play that trash.
I did play Warcraft. It used to be good.
But you know what I mean, though. It's like it's like these are people that kind of have a little bit of a knowledge about video games, right? But they assume, video games equal Warcraft, or I guess nowadays League of Legends. Video games, huh? You must love League of Legends. I'm like, I didn't even know what the fuck that was until 6 months ago.
Okay, but let me point out something to you, Tony. If I told you, "Hi, Tony, my name is Brett. I'm a carpenter," what would you say?
Cool.
And if you weren't sure on exactly what I did, you would say, "So you..."
Oh, you build houses and stuff, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And as a carpenter, that's probably the first thing that everybody fucking says to me.
Yeah.
And I would be like, "No, motherfucker, I build curio cabinets out of fine oak." Why does everybody "Oh, you build fucking houses"? Like, everybody thinks I build fucking houses. No, not every carpenter builds fucking houses. The point that I'm making is, just because they're wrong doesn't mean they're not trying. They're clearly uninformed.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though. It's
not for you, but for the people listening. Like, yeah, when people are like, "Yeah, so like Warcraft, that's your opportunity to be like, yes and no. Warcraft is a video game, but like they're trying to explain their knowledge." Like, this is something I had to get over with tattoos, man, because everybody asked me the same fucking questions, like the same 4 fucking questions.
Yeah. The reason I bring that up is because because I'm in a bind with that. Because on the one hand, it's annoying, but at the same time, they're trying. I remember also going back again, kind of related, but not so much. I remember, Manny, you know this too. We would go to places and we're like, "Hey, yeah, we listen to metal." "Oh, so you like Slipknot?" And these, I'm like, "No, we listen to real metal. We don't listen to that nonsense."
Yeah.
They were at least trying. What are they like? "Oh, so you like Limp Bizkit?" I'm like, "No, that's
no way.
That's barely music." Like, just because
I like punk rock. You mean Green Day? I will punch you in the fucking mouth.
Brett, I'm not even a punk rock guy, and I would punch someone in the face for saying that. You mean yeah. Oh my God, I'm forgetting the name. Yeah. Damn it, who was the other one that was really big? That was punk back in the day, around when Green Day came out. Damn, I forget the fucking name.
So
those
many.
Guys, yeah. Those guys, they were on fucking Crazy Taxi. Anyway, yeah, the same thing. Like Green Day's not punk, guys. I'm sorry, no, that's not punk.
Well, to be fair, once upon a time they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long, long ago, children.
Until they wanted to make money,
Yes.
I said they sold out. Fuck it. I'm gonna find out the name of this band now because I'm obsessed. I
want somebody to challenge you on Green Day selling out. Like, I want to see that internet fight. Like, no, dude, Green Day didn't sell out. Like, I want to see somebody cite evidence of how Green Day didn't sell out. That would be an interesting read.
Oh man. All right. Manny, you want to add any more to that?
No, it's all good.
All right. Next question, last question from Final Stage Boss. It used to piss me off back in the day when I went to the grocery store to buy a gaming magazine and all of the demo discs were ripped out of the packages. Did you guys ever steal the demo disc out of the package that used to come with the gaming magazines back in the day? No, I never did that.
And at the time, I was part of the. At that time I was also part of the PlayStation Underground, and they used to send you those things in the mail for free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nah, dude, that shit wasn't me. It used to piss me off too. And then I got stuck in the position where I was like, I want my fucking demo disc. Because first of all, who the fuck steals a demo disc?
Yeah,
yes.
Like apparently people did.
It's a demo disc. Like, yeah, you had the odd friends who would replay the demo over and over and over again, but for the most part, you could find a second-hand copy of it floating around school somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, who the fuck steals that? And then they started putting everything in bags, and I was really torn because I was like, I don't know whether this magazine is bullshit or not. Yeah, I want to look inside. I know the bag. Like, I don't want to buy the one that's open because it doesn't have the disc in it because somebody's obviously stolen the disc, but I don't want to just buy the bad copy. But always there was one copy that was in the front that had was stuffed back into a torn open bag that you could just pop out and leave through. Like, okay, this looks good. Pop it back in, buy the actual one.
What thing I am guilty of is ripping open one of the copies so that I can look at what's inside.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've done that. Yeah, if there weren't any open, it was like, oh look, this one's got a hole in it. Like, oh look, is that? Oh yeah, that totally is a hole. Oh look, the magazine slips out. Read.
Yes. Yeah, so you can look at it, you know. By the way, shout out to our friend Sergio, who just texted me right now. The band I was thinking of, Brett, calm down beforehand. Offspring.
Yeah, we go.
They're not even punk rock. They're like some weird alt rock like offshoot. Like we're not even responsible.
Weren't they ska kind of?
Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
No. It's a bad Manny. No.
Oh wait, there wasn't
like,
enough. There wasn't enough horns in their music.
There was no, and plus there was no jazz influence, there was no reggae influence. It was a fucking train wreck. But it's not our train wreck. It's not my train wreck to take responsibility of.
I'm about to throw a grenade right now. Blink
Like, well,
Blink 182.
Okay,
you like punk? What about Blink 182?
You know why they're called Blink 182? Because they were just fucking Blink, and then they pulled a 180 to change their sound, and that was literally the point. Like, they did everybody the convenience of renaming themselves when they sold out, which is weird. It's weird, and yeah, I've walked out of shows when Blink 182 came on to the stage. This is actually the day when Green Day would. God, I sound old. This is the days when Green Day was still actually good. And for some god-awful reason, they toured with Blink 182, and I was like, all right, I'll be there for the first half of the show. I'm going to go sleep this off in the second half of the show, get shit-hammered during Green Day, and then leave.
Oh, man. Just had to throw that in there. All right, so yeah, none of us ever did that shit. That's crazy.
That's just like, that's kind of assholey. I mean, I've been the victim of that, where it was like, wait, there was supposed to be a demo disc in this? God damn it.
Yeah, when you're reading through the magazine, they're like, check out the demo disc. And you're like,
what demo disc?
You flip through, and you're like, card. No demo disc.
Damn it.
Yeah. All right, next question by Mike Madden. This is hilarious, but I'm glad he asked us this so we could explain to the people. Okay, do you think it was fair that otherzinc was banned for more than 1 month without a warning? He paid his debt, and it's time to let him back in. You guys were screaming at us for fucking months to kick this guy out of the site, and we did it, and you want him back? So let me tell you what happened. He didn't get let go out of nowhere like you're suggesting. Gary, remember, he made that bet, and the bet was, for you guys who don't remember, basically Halo would sell 3 million in October, 2 million in November, 2 more million in December. If he was wrong, he's gonna shut his ass up for a month. He was wrong in October, and he stayed on the site talking shit. So we're like, okay, we're gonna enforce this ourselves since he's not fucking gonna do it himself. We knew what he was gonna do too. He was gonna fucking find a loophole, which he did, because he was not gonna honor that. So we banned him, right? So, but the way we did it was Gary sent him an email like, hey, we're banning you, and this is why. So Zinc came back, and this answers the second part of the question. He came back and he's like, fuck you guys, I'm never gonna come back again, even after the month's over. I'm gonna go to Crap Gamer's site because that's the only real gamer in the industry. That's what he said. So yeah, it's not a matter of that we want him back. He doesn't want to come back, and I say good fucking riddance. Look how much better our comment section are now. People get into actual discussions. Shocker, instead of fighting with this idiot, now we have real discussions going on, There's still some fanboy shit, don't get me wrong, but not to that extreme,
Tony, do you mind if I address the crowd for a moment on your behalf?
Well, I'm already done, man. You go right ahead.
What Tony's doing is right now giving reasons. What I'm going to do is just be frank with y'all, because this is something that, well, you know what? We talk about it all the time. We always want journalists to be respectful and honest with us, so I'm going to do that right now. Here's the deal. We are, and not even me, I'm just defending these guys, so feel free to tell me where if anywhere where I'm wrong, Tony, but we, and by we I mean them, are responsible for creating a space where everybody can talk about video games, right? And so there does come a certain responsibility to curate the discussion. The balance needs to come between curating a discussion where you are simply pruning off negative, endless cycles of just yelling the same thing back and forth, and driving that energy towards constructive discussion. And this is for the benefit of everybody. And the balance of that is that you don't want to get so heavy-handed that you start to actually oppress anybody's point of view. We have made it very clear that we want to have discussions about video games, that we frown on fanboyism, we frown on stereotyping, we frown on y'all being mean to each other unnecessarily. We're not going to we're not going to force you to stop. We're not going to quiet you because you have a right to be a dick on the internet. But we do also have the right to try and gear you towards more appropriate, reasonable discussion that actually means something instead of just like, fuck you, no, fuck you. Okay, so we've been trying to curate in a positive fashion, and we've been trying to put a positive spin on it. We argue with Zinc, we argue Zinc down. We finally got to the point where we just made a bet because we were getting sick of the shit and the hate and the vitriol, and he agreed to that bet. This left us an open and clear course to enforce said bet, and that's all we did. Now, nobody's going to make you think that this is strictly about a bet. No, they wanted him gone because he was poisoning the well. But that's something that nobody ever pretended to make unclear. So we're trying very hard to keep everything light and above board. The truth is that I think everybody's known that this has been frustrating for a while now. And that there comes a sort of democratic vote in which we're all like, can we all just kind of move along from this? So if you want to come and have an open discussion, our forums are open to you. But let it be known, like a pirate swinging in the bay, that this is not a place for rampant fanboyism and vitriol. This is not a place to come and tell people they're stupid and shut down their discussions and tell them why they're wrong in an abusive manner. If you want to be here and talk, you're expected to do so like an adult. So I want to make it very clear that this is not dissenting in opinion. This is simply holding somebody to regard and to task for the things that they said and they have said.
Yeah, basically. I'm glad you said it that way, but that's what it is. And again, the proof is in the pudding. Look at the comments now. We have really engaging conversations now. We weren't able to have that before because you had this one dude just repeating the same shit. Force a 5, Force a 5. Dude, shut the fuck up with that, And apparently we were like the last site, that didn't ban him. He was banned from other sites for a reason.
He's not banned anymore. He's allowed to come back as long as he's willing to. Yeah. But we're only going to allow him to stay if he engages like an adult. You can't just throw in the same unsubstantiated argument and fanboyism time and time again. There comes a certain point when you have to hold people accountable, and then you ask them, well, what do we hold them accountable for? Like, yes, there does come a point in which people aren't allowed to say shit. Well, what point is that? What point do you say that somebody's not allowed to say something and it not be censoring? That's a very valid question. And that's the thing that we've all been kind of tiptoeing around and trying to balance. And where we made the distinction was you argue essentially by debate rules, right? Like if you don't want to argue fairly and try and argue for a point of understanding as opposed to just shouting your opinion down somebody else's throat, then this may not be the place for you. And so that's where the line comes. And I think most fair and agreeable ladies and gentlemen would draw the line in the same place. And so, as Tony said, he's welcome to come back, but we expect a certain code of conduct. And that code of conduct is act like a fucking adult.
Yeah, but again, according to him, he ain't coming back, so whatever. And
that's fine. That's not acting like an adult. So that would disqualify him from participation anyway, but... It's one of those if you want to calm down and come back, that's fine. Nobody should ever be just permanently exiled from the nerd kingdom. We've all had our runs. We've all had to go it alone at some point. It's tough out there. We'll give you back with open arms. Just don't be a dick about it. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad this question was asked because yes, otherzinc is not being banned continuously. No, he's been able to come back for months now. that's all on him, you know. And and you know what? I'm going to say this too. You know, the other elephant in the room. I know a lot of you guys want him back so you could throw all this negative Microsoft shit in his face. There's a lot of Sony fanboys too. They every time Microsoft fucks up, like with the Quantum Break thing, who do they bring up in the comments? They bring up otherzinc in the comments. What's he saying now? What's he saying now? It's like, you guys wanted him gone. Now you want him back so you could throw this shit in his face. It's like he got banned for being stupid. Like, you're not gonna get, these guys aren't on that level obviously, but you're stooping to the same level as him. You know, with that silliness, you know.
Man,
yeah, go ahead.
I think what we need is we should just like open a fucking forum called like the Fanboy Arena, and by entering said forum, you understand that there will be playful jabs, jokes at your mother's expense, and people questioning your sexuality due to your brand choices rampant through here. And then if people just seem to have this inherent need to just jump in and throw stones at each other. If you guys want to play verbal dodgeball, that's fine. We should just fucking open a forum so you can all jump in there and say your mom's gay because she plays Xbox. Like, if you want a place to do that, we'll just fucking draw you out a circle, build a fucking wall about it, and let you all go in and bloody each other up. But just promise that if you come back out, you gotta understand that you walked in that fucking place. You knew it was a Thunderdome of Trollville. So
yeah.
I'd actually be interested to hear, like, for the people listening, is there an inherent and desirable need to just bait and kind of tease each other? Because I do understand that, like, when a bunch of guys get together and we're all friends, and there comes a certain point in community in which you do feel it's okay to kind of jab and play at each other's expenses, right? So, like, I'm curious, in today's environment of hostility and harassment and things like that, is there a place and is there a want for even any of the people listening for just a place to just go and just fanboy out, call the other person a fag, and then sign off and let bygones be bygones? Is there a want for that? Is there a place for that in today's world? I'm genuinely honestly curious.
Interesting question, man. We probably won't be doing it anyway. Like a double form.
No. I don't even mean that. Like, like I said, I'm curious. Like hypothetically, do people, like, is there an inherent need? Is there satisfaction in this squabble? Like, is there some satisfying thing? Does it release dopamine in your brain to just get on there and fucking flame somebody out on a message board? Like, is that something you want? I don't think that's a question anybody's asked for. Everybody's trying to squelch conversation because everybody obviously doesn't want their opinions challenged. But, like, is there? I know plenty of people who seek out an argument. So is this just a need that's going to need addressed? Like, do you guys have any thoughts? I'm actually, the more I talk about this, the more I'm genuinely curious in a sociological sense.
Yeah, well, in the meantime, please go to N4G where that stuff is rampant on every single post there.
I agree. The thing is that we should really be beyond this whole, like, well, mine's better than yours is this, blah blah blah. It's very, childish, and we can communicate and have really good, great conversations, and each side listens to each other's points, stuff like that. That's conversation, and that's a lot of things that don't seem to happen nowadays, where everybody just makes these judgment calls based on feeling and all this other stuff, rather than actually just sitting there, and even if they don't like what the other person is saying, actually just listening and being like, all right, you believe that, instead of just going, oh, well, you're stupid,
Yeah, exactly. All right.
I'm pretty sure if you're convinced the other person is an idiot, you are in fact an idiot.
Yeah, right, exactly. Where you want to hear them out, All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brett. Oh, yeah, last thing. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I guess while I have the mic, this would be a good time to share a Buddhist mantra that I like sharing with a lot of people. And stop me if I've done this before, but the story basically goes that there was a rich man, a king, who owned a prize bull, and is famous throughout the land. So he hired the land's most famous painter to come and paint a portrait for him. Painter came, locked himself in a room for months on end until he came out and exclaimed that it was done. Every brushstroke perfect, every color impeccable. And the king came, saw it, and exclaimed it was such a grand painting that they would create a great festival for the unveiling. And so they do, and everybody in the land lined up for miles around and came, saw the painting in all its splendor, and remarked upon its glory. finally, after all the kings and all the queens and all the noblemen and all the peasants had come and seen this and remarked what perfection it was, what exquisite beauty it held, a stable boy who takes care of the bull stepped up and said, "That's a very good painting, mister, except you're wrong in the sense that a bull raises its tail when it charges." And the point of this story is that you can know 99.9% of everything, but the person out there who you may think is the most unintelligent, unknowledgeable, unqualified person to comment on your thing may know the one thing that you don't. And the second you lose sight of that, you become the idiot in the situation. The second you close yourself off from being able to understand and grow from information that comes from anywhere, the least expected place, you yourself become the antagonist of knowledge and growth. Just remember that shit when you're posting people.
Yeah, hopefully that won't go over people's heads, but you know, you threw the knowledge out there, and that's the important part. I'm pretty sure some people will take to it. You know, that's what it's all about. If you just get that one person that understands you, it's all worth it. All right.
I tried for you people.
Thank you. By the way, again, the show would have been over now if it wasn't for Mr. Phantom Vash. So thank you, Mr. Phantom Vash. Dude weren't asking questions this week, man. I don't get it. All right. First up, what are your thoughts on Amazon's free game engine Lumberyard and the impact it could have? Also, how much further do you believe Amazon will dive into gaming? They created Amazon Studios, purchased Switch, and now are releasing this free engine. Oh yeah, all this is leading up to them creating their own publishing studio, you know, Amazon Games or whatever, you know. So it's definitely going out there, and I'm guessing, you know, they want to build their stable, right? Going back to talking about horses and shit, they're building up their stable. It's like, hey, here's a free game engine. Why don't you make games for us? You know, so they're definitely setting things up. It'll be interesting. Amazon Games. I don't know when that will, you know, come to fruition, obviously, but who knows? So yeah, it's definitely happening. I don't even think it's a question of is it happening. It's more of a question of when will it happen? Because it seems to me that Amazon's going to get into the gaming industry. Very interesting. Very interesting.
You notice quite a bit of people. I mean, you notice quite a bit of people. GameStop are getting into game creation, so it's interesting. I mean, they obviously know that. They obviously look at the, you know, the numbers and they're like, well, you know, maybe if we can get into this somehow, you know, we could start making even more.
Yeah. Oh, Brett, I think I know what you're gonna ask. This engine is based off the Cry engine, which you know from Crysis and stuff. So it's a pretty beefy engine already, you know. But this one is like free, yeah.
So it's just a free source version of the CryEngine?
Yeah, more or less. I guess. Yeah, I guess.
Did Amazon buy the rights to the CryEngine? I'm confused as to exactly why this is pertinent. So, like, let me get this straight. So either Amazon had to buy the rights to the CryEngine.
But they didn't buy it. They have a version of the CryEngine. They don't have the rights to the CryEngine.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's either a wannabe CryEngine based off like, oh, here's what CryEngine does. Let's just kind of try and build something that does this.
Yeah.
Or it's a kind of backworked version of CryEngine or reverse engineered, or it's a sourced, licensed, or freeware version of CryEngine that they've then beefed up. All of which aren't necessarily super satisfying to me. So like either you paid for this and are giving it free at a loss, which would indicate that you bought some current technology, or you stole or took something for free. Either way, you acquired it for free and then jerry-rigged it and are now releasing it for free. Neither of which screams a whole lot of quality for me. And quality is really important in these engines in terms of like ease of use, ease of development, things like that. So while it may be 7 out of 10, like they're aiming for an industry standard. They're aiming to be an industry standard, or at least garner a large market share of that. So the question is it as good as the other options, or is it just kind of a meh engine that works pretty well, that we're going to see meh games that do pretty well apply on? Like, is it going to become a hallmark of, oh, well, this game didn't want to spend that much money, so it just went for the free version as well, you know, instead of the deluxe version? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it
Yeah.
concerns me a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't. I'm not with the whole. Oh, it's a knockoff version, so it's got to be cheap. It could be just as good as CryEngine. You don't know. So
That's
I'm
not
like,
really generally how the free market works. Like,
no, I understand,
you
but
don't generally have like a proprietary engine that you sell for a lot of money and then also give it away for free.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what those particulars are, but I mean, to me, I mean, maybe it's not a correct thing. It's like, hey, there's Prilosec and there's omeprazole. They do the same shit, you know?
It kind of reminds me of when Daisy was released and they built it off the Arma 2 engine. Like, they're like, oh yeah, it's built off the Arma 2 engine. That's all fucking well and good because there was a lot of cool stuff that was based off the Arma 2 engine. But by the time it fucking came out, everything had moved on to the Unreal engine and the Arma 3 engine, and the game itself was held back by association. So my fear is that they got a technology, yeah, and they're augmenting it, yeah, but they're also releasing this for free and towing the bottom line so that it's going to be inferior to the other new engines on the market by the time it comes out, and therefore it's going to stunt the games that it's in. And I don't think that's me putting on a tinfoil hat. That's just me looking at how businesses generally, filter down decisions and money. So unless there was somebody really strong in the driver's seat of this, I have reservations.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know enough about how this engine came to be, other than it's a version of the CryEngine to give you any specifics about it. But yeah, I mean, to the core question, I don't think it is a question. Amazon is going to get into game development, just like everybody else seems to be doing. All right. Moving on here. All right, Brett. Here's where we're getting to your territory. VR gaming. Okay. What are your thoughts on HTC Vive's $800 price point? The Vive comes with 2 controllers, a pair of laser-based stations to track movement in a room-scale environment, and Vive phone services. It will release in April and comes bundled with 2 games, Job Simulator and Fantastic Contraption. I want to go in first. The $800 goes to prove my point. Fucking VR is not for the everyday man. This is fucking expensive shit. This is even more expensive than the fucking Oculus. So there you go. If you want to get into VR, like as Harai said,
it's less expensive than the Oculus comparatively.
How's that? Oculus is $600.
Okay, because the Vive has touch capability and controllers in it. It comes with everything. When you get the Oculus Touch, which is going to be more costly than the current Oculus, which is already out, plus its controllers and all its base station and all that, like it's going to ring up. I forget. I want to say it's another $250.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. But it still kind of proves the point I wanted to make about this, which is, VR is not going to be fucking cheap, people. I'm
pissed.
Yeah, this is the shit you're going to have to deal with, and again, like I said before when we talked about this, kind of shouldn't be surprised, like you don't be mad at the price, be mad at, the other reason Brett was mad, because they fucking lied to you and said it was going to be affordable. That's what you should be mad at, but don't be mad at the price, because this is some high-tech shit. It's going to be
I can be mad at the price still, actually.
How's that? Because I don't see the point. It's like, hey, my PC is too fucking expensive. What's in your PC? Yeah, it kind of should be expensive, Tony. It's like complaining about that. That's the way I see it.
Okay, let me tell you a story. So there were a bunch of people who were really excited about VR technology, right? They wanted to integrate it in computers, video games, and consoles, and all this stuff, right? So they started showing it at technology shows, and they got a lot of positive feedback. So they took this and turned it into a bunch of prototypes, okay? A lot of crowd interest, a lot of great feedback, a lot of 1-to-1 head tracking ratio, very low latency, no motion sickness. They got the shit down to science, right? Then the price tag drops between $1,200 and $2,000 by the time it's all said and done. Interest wanes, release doesn't go very well. This time was the fucking 90s, okay? This shit has already happened exactly like this. The only difference now is the fucking internet. And the reason it crashed and burned then is people decided, $1,200 to $2,000 was too expensive an entry point to get this into enough households to make a difference. The market couldn't catch on. It was just too fucking expensive. Then Palmer comes around and says, I'm going to do this same shit for $300. And people got excited because it lowered the bar to a point of everyday accessibility. And then somewhere along the lines, they went, you know what? We can give you a little bit better experience if we just tweak this. It only costs us $10. We're gonna put a little extra padding on the helmet, make it more comfortable for 8-hour sessions. It's just gonna cost us another $20. And they nickel and dime the motherfucker right up to $800 fucking dollars. And now the problem becomes $800 plus a PC capable to run it. You're looking at probably another $800. So you're probably looking at again between $1,200 and $2,000 depending on how well you want it to run. This is the exact same thing that happened before, and it's going to have a negative effect. They've already gone from saying that, you know, this is going to be a thing for everybody to this is something only enthusiasts are going to adopt in the beginning. They've changed their song and dance, and I, for one, am very concerned about that. So when I answer the question, what do I think of the price point? The price point is more economical than the Rift, which is a good thing. But overall, in the grand context of things, $800 is dangerously high for this kind of device. In fact, it reeks of something that nobody's going to buy because $800 sounds like a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Whether or not you have a lot of money, $800 sounds like a lot of money. It's closer to $1,000 than it is to $500. That's a lot how the brain thinks. Like, ooh, just under $1,000. One of the things you can get for just under $1,000. All the lap dances or all the cheeseburgers you can buy with $1,000. Think of the present you can buy for your girlfriend or the vacation you could take her on. You can go to fucking Hawaii for that. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do? Buy a VR headset or take your fiance to Hawaii? Well, that's not really a fucking hard decision. So it comes down to there's a psychological shift that happens when you get past a certain price point. And they think that they're getting around it by saying like, oh, well, the headset costs this much. And okay, maybe even saying, you know, like a $600 headset, like, oh, that hurts. But maybe we can get around that. Okay, well, we're gonna need a new PC, so that's another few $100 for upgrades to the PC, plus fucking controllers and plus a game. Like, oh shit, suddenly when you actually do the math, you're over the $1,000 mark just to get in with a game. Mm-hmm. So all in all, I'm very concerned about this price point, and I think that, God forbid, this all burns out in a dumpster fire, and then people are like, see, Tonys of the world were right. Nobody wants VR technology, and I'm going to have to stab somebody in the neck with a pencil.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. Let's just be honest, man. $800 is a lot for the regular guy. For the dudes who buy crazy graphics cards, that ain't nothing. You know, it's
still a lot of money, because keep in mind, while their PCs are generally worth a lot of money, you only do what you just did once every 15 fucking years or so. Like, you're going to upgrade your video card, you're going to upgrade your processor, you're going to upgrade your RAM. God forbid you have a catastrophic failure, you need to upgrade 2, maybe more of those components at once, but that would be super rare. Like, you're not going to have, like, yeah, they have that much invested overall, but that's still, even if they don't have to upgrade their computer, like $600, like, whoa, there's a reason not everybody is walking around with a fucking balls out TI, 99,000 fucking graphics card. Not everybody has a fucking Titan for very good reason, because it's obscenely expensive. And you get to a point in the top end where you get to a point of diminishing returns. So, like, if you really want to be on the fucking cutting edge, you're going to pay for it. And each time you go up a class, you're going to pay more and you're going to be there for less time. So this bodes well for your average consumer who can get in the middle of the road, pay a fair amount, have it be an applicable computer, have it work pretty well for a fair amount of time. But if you're trying to maintain that upper echelon, yeah, it can get expensive. But even then, like, when people save up for like a Titan, they'll be like, oh my God, this is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Like, that is a big fucking moment. So the VR headset would be still the single most expensive component by a fairly wide margin, even on high-end enthusiast PCs.
Yeah, oh no, I totally agree with you. But again, they're still gonna look at fucking Oculus. That shit sold out in hours. You know, there's still a market for this. You know.
Mm-hmm. There absolutely is. Now the question is, these people have been waiting for an Oculus for so long. Like, so it's kind of like, okay, so there's been a food shortage, right? And everybody's crowded at the grocery store because they're opening it back up after this food shortage. Everybody's pressed up against the door, or even like Black Friday, okay? So everybody's pressed up against the door for Black Friday. You open the doors, people start rushing in 100 a minute, okay? This actually doesn't have any accounting on the amount of people waiting outside those front doors. Because those people rushing in at 100 a minute, they're going to rush in 100 a minute whether or not there's 1,000 of them or whether or not there's 10,000 of them, okay? So yeah, you have to understand, when you release the gates, yeah, you're going to have this torrent, but how long is this torrent going to keep up? That's the main question. Yeah, the fanboys, the enthusiasts, they're going to get out there. And they didn't release that many Rifts to begin with. So I don't really know if that's a valid point on the sustainability of something at this price just because a bunch of people have bought it.
Yeah, well, no, well, that's a whole different discussion there. The sustainability portion of it, you know, because yeah, you're gonna get those you know, what do you call the first early adopters? You're gonna get those guys, but down the line, right? That's where you're gonna run into problems, you know. And again, I mean, we may just have to wait another 10, 15 years for VR to really be accessible to everybody. But then again, who knows? Maybe Sony will get it right. And we got a question about them too. So
I have a prediction to make on that, actually.
All right, should we get to the Sony question, or you want to make the prediction now?
I think it would segue pretty well into the next question, actually.
Okay, so let's ask it. Do you believe the Vive offers a better value than the Oculus Rift, and which VR headset do you see most PC gamers adopting between the two devices?
I personally think the Vive is a slightly superior product. I think Oculus Rift got, let's say, bloated. Definitely drug its heels. I don't have much faith in its management. It took far too long to come to fruition, and too many people were able to see the hype that it built and catch up to it in its R&D, and in my opinion, even surpass it in some ways. That it's just my faith in the company, HTC, is way higher than Facebook's bastard child of a company. That being said, I'm actually feeling very grim about VR. I think that you have two highly expensive things coming to the market at roughly the same time, with nobody targeting the niche of low-end consumers. I think this is going to create an ecosystem that is very split. I think they're both going to garner or try and grab for exclusives, which isn't going to help anybody. Mm-hmm. And I think the majority of the games that you're going to see on Steam that are VR compatible are going to be small production team companies, which is going to relegate the VR platform to small indie games of a low quality, and that is going to mar the image of VR for years to come, until finally, most likely, Sony comes along and creates a game like Skyrim, and they decide to invest the money to have another development team go alongside them and augment it so that you can play the game in standard first or third person mode, as well as in VR first or third person mode, which would give everybody a wide variety of options to play with. They'd find something that fit them. They'd return this metadata through online connections in the consoles. The parent company would therefore be able to learn about how people are actually utilizing this new technology in real time, and then we would actually see some growth. But I foresee us hitting a rut because of the divide in PC architecture. Just the high price point, the lack of availability to low-end consumer. The only people who are going to be able to get in on this under than like $600 all total are the people who already have PlayStations, and they've got such a wide market. Like, you could make the argument that, oh, well, you have to buy a PlayStation as well, but there are so many PlayStations out in the wild now that that's not necessarily an accurate representation either. So that's my view of how this is going to come along, and so I guess the answer to the question would be, I think the Vive offers a better value for a slightly superior product, and I think the most adopted between the two is going to be neither. It's going to be PSVR.
Okay. Manny, you got anything to add to that?
No, I mean I agree.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know. This whole VR thing, I don't get it.
I think it's Brett's assessment is right. It's like based on the fact that there are so many of these out, PS3s, PS4s out there, there's a good chance that there might be a lot of adopters. People will say, hey, there's this VR thing. I guess I'll try this thing out. Not to mention a lot of the titles that were being developed for the for the Oculus were being that there's other headsets out there, they can also play these sorts of games too.
Yeah.
I also look forward to the feature, and I think this will be a big one. Sourcing what the person sees in VR into the living room TV, so that you can have a truly, like, you can watch somebody playing a game or watch somebody experiencing a movie or something like that in an actual communal environment, breaking that wall of isolation. Be like, okay, Chuck, it's your turn to put on this headset and try some virtual bowling, and then you kind of like pass it around the room or something like that, or then you'll eventually get to the point where maybe people have a personal headset that's augmented to them. So everybody brings over their headset, and you have a night of virtual baseball or some shit like that. Like it'll be a slow evolution, but I think displaying the image onto the TV and breaking you out of the isolation is going to be a really integral step to that, if for no other reason than it makes the person in the headset look a little bit less ridiculous. Because you're like, what the fuck are they doing? And then you look at the TV, they're like, oh, they're opening a door in space. That's kind of cool. And then you sit there and watch for a minute. You're like, dude, they're like peeking around, they're like grabbing the ledges. I didn't know you could do that. And that gets them interested. Then they play it, and then they're like, oh, that was really fun. They go over and they tell their friends. Like, inclusiveness is such a vital part of growth that I think that alone would help. Because you could very easily build the stereotype of the computer nerd who locks himself into VR and nobody knows what he's doing. He's just waving his hands in the air like a kitty cat with Parkinson's. So versus the guy sitting on the couch, porting his screen to the big screen so that you can see him virtual realitying Fallout. I think it's going to be less of a social barrier, I guess. So that's another good reason why I think consoles have a leg up in terms of VR.
All right, and then obviously the next question segues right into PlayStations. When do you believe Sony will finally have their PSVR info blowout? Will it be at its own event, much like the Vita, the upcoming GDC, or will Sony possibly wait until E3, considering rumors suggest Sony have delayed PSVR's launch to the fall? Very interesting. I didn't know about that. Like, see, Fan of Ash always giving me the info, man. Like, why aren't you a gaming journalist? You know more shit than I do. I don't think they're going to do that at E3. I think they're going to show just games. To quote the Xbox guys at E3. I honestly believe they're going to do their own event. I don't think they're going to like piggyback off something else. I think they're going to do their own proper PlayStation VR event and really showcase it. And I'm just saying that because it just makes sense. Like, why would you do that shit at GDC or something like that? Like, make it your own thing. If you really are serious about it, and we know Sony is not really too good when it comes to hardware, and you know how serious they are. If you're gonna be serious about it, do your own fucking event, So that's what I would advise Sony to do.
I would think that it'd be a lot like the PlayStation 4 reveal sort of thing. Like it'll be like something like that,
Yeah.
I hope it's like the PlayStation 4 real. Like this is one of those few times when you really get to see what a company is made of. There has been the market has kind of been shaken up with the release of these price points. I think a lot of faith in VR has dropped off. A lot of people went from really excited to kind of begrudgingly excited or slightly angry. I think it changed the landscape a little bit. So Sony has a unique ability here where like it's like strip poker where the time comes where like everybody needs to take off their pants or something like that. The three people in front of you chicken out. Now it's Sony's turn. They have the choice to chicken out and not really face much public ridicule, or they have the option to unzip and throw their dick on the table. And it really depends on what they're packing. Like, if they've got a solid lineup, they could come out and this would be really bad for Microsoft if they could come out where the others have stumbled and hit a home run, which they've done before. So I don't want to say it's implausible. It's just, it really depends on how much Sony's executives are really paying attention to the market right now, and how much they have their finger on the pulse. Because if they could manage to come out with a good showing of a working platform that works as advertised and delivers what it promises at an accessible price point for a console that you already have, that's boom. That's a fucking home run. Like, that is big for Sony. And if they've learned their lesson about how much Microsoft beat them to the punch by having a year advance on their market share for the last generation, then Sony knows how much time here is an asset. So they could be jockeying, and this is a perfect world, obviously. In a perfect world, they could be jockeying to set themselves up to publicly succeed where others have floundered. Or they could be very quietly shuffling back because they don't want to trip on the same troubles that the other people before them have. I can't tell you which is smarter. I can tell you which I'd like to see, and that's them come out and fully commit to this. Fully be like, you want VR, you want it at an accessible rate, you want it working, you don't want to have to dick with computer settings forever and still maybe not have it work. Boom, here you go. Plug it into the PlayStation, put it on, it's gonna work. End of story. Some of your favorite games you can play in regular or VR now. That would just be drop the mic and walk off stage. And that would really cement my faith in Sony as a company. I would lose a little bit of faith for them if they chicken shit out on this. Not as much as I would gain if they don't, because it's a risky endeavor, and I'm not gonna blame somebody for not swinging for the fences, but I sure as hell want to see them do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you think about this whole thing? The fall. You think that's a good time to launch it?
Yeah, I think it is, man. Like, I think they've got everybody by the short hairs right now. Rift has said itself that they're only aiming for enthusiasts. They don't plan to have a large market share before Christmas. The Vive obviously doesn't either, releasing at the price point that it is. It's trying to compete with early adopter enthusiasts. So that leaves a whole lot. There's this big hype wave of VR that's, you know, the thing people don't understand is there are so many people excited about VR that it wasn't just the enthusiasts you saw online being excited for it. The enthusiasts don't encapsulate enough population by themselves to make that kind of hype wave. And so what a lot of people are assuming is, okay, well, for each one of these VR enthusiasts, they get 6 of their friends hyped up about it. So it's like, okay, so what? These friends are not going to buy it? They're just waiting to see their buddy Dave's VR headset? Like, what do you think all this hype came from? And where do you think it's all dissipating to? It's dissipating because there's a bunch of disappointed gamers that feel like they just got kicked out of bed because they don't have $1,000 worth of extra income despite how much they like video games. So you can't say that there's not a want and not a need to fill this niche. And Sony would be incredibly smart to deliver on that same around $300, $400 price point that was originally promised. Like, there is, I don't know how to say it other than, like, if you imagine it like a big wave and the top 10% is these enthusiasts, Oculus Rift is content to skim the top. But what about all those other people below them? What about all those other people pushing these news stories, making these page hits, the ones following it, even though maybe they're not willing to drop $600 on it? Because I'm here to fucking tell you, we exist. There are dozens of us. There's a lot of people in this situation. So there's a need for it. There's a hype for it. There's a market for it. There has never been a better time to pull a trigger on something than this. It's kind of the same phenomenon with the Deadpool movie. Like, do you guys need an embossed fucking invitation? Like, how do you have so little faith in the market? Except maybe Sony doesn't. Maybe I'm being an optimist here. Maybe I'm being a cynic. This is one of those points where I can't fucking tell because the two are so closely intertwined. But what I can tell you is, if Sony does this, I have confidence that they will succeed. And I don't think there's a lot of people that are going to argue with me on that point.
Yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to see, you know, because again, Sony has that. You know, when it comes to hardware, they have a pretty bad fucking history, and I'm pretty sure you're worried about that too, Brett. I mean, we could name it: fucking the Vita, the fucking PSP Go, the Move. You know, all that shit all failed miserably for the same reason.
I would beg to differ.
Yeah. How's that? They all did though.
Here's one thing: the Vita's still holding on. It's not doing incredibly.
That is true. And the PSP as well did well. You know. So I guess there was two little glimmers of hope there.
And the Vita, I'm convinced of this. This is where I do put in my tinfoil hat, and I fully admit to it. I'm convinced that the Move was made with forward thinking. They've already admitted that the glow bar at the top of the remote was made with VR technology in mind, meaning that they started the research for this quite a while ago, right? And the controllers that are going to be incorporated into the VR are surprisingly a lot like the Move controllers. So it seems to me they were pursuing technology. They got part of the technology where they wanted it. They got the camera, they got the Move. They didn't have the rest down, but they said, you know what, we already have this perfectly accessible technology. Why don't we attempt to market it? What do we have to lose? Well, they didn't gain a whole lot from it, but it's being folded into current technology. This is the same thing I keep saying that Microsoft needed to do with their headset in terms of incorporate all of the R&D, all of this value that they've put into research, and incorporate that into their headset. Sony is doing the smart thing. It's the information they got, the things that they've built, the research and development that they've done. These are assets, and these don't just like fade away. They don't just blow away like dust in the wind. They're still technologies, proprietary technologies that Sony holds on to, and now they're leveraging all of these technologies together. They're using the camera, they're using the headset, they're using the Move controllers. So therefore, none of these things can actually technically be called failures if they knew that this is the end game. And if this was the end game, what great fucking foresight. Really think about that for a second.
Yeah, if you know.
Well, you know, it's already been proven. They did it from the conception of the PS4. They had this in mind. So I wouldn't say late into the PS3's life cycle that they could have had this in mind. I wouldn't say that that's maybe not saying that they knew it was going to happen, but they said, you know, this is the kind of technology that we can roll into future iterations. Either way, even at a loss, it may not be a loss.
Yeah. The only thing is, like you said, that they're using Move-like controllers. I thought they were straight up Move controllers. You know, from what I've seen, I'm like, those are Move controllers.
They're upgraded versions.
Okay.
But yeah, same technology.
It's
solid technology.
Currently existing technology.
Yes. All right. And the final question here: are there any books, novels, manga, etc., that you would like to see adapted into a film, TV series, or even a video game?
Well, the thing about manga is that 90% of those things get turned into some sort of show.
Yeah, exactly. So it already happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it happens a lot. A lot of times it's not very good.
Yeah. The only one I can think of can make a Shadows of the Empire into a movie. That'd be fucking awesome. Do that.
I'm just going full pop culture nerd, and I'm forgetting my classic literary nerd. How about Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series adapted into 3 trilogies of movies? Because that would be fucking awesome.
Can they do it in 3 trilogies? Oh, 3 trilogies. Yeah. I was about to say.
Yeah, no, you would need 9 movies to tell the Wheel of Time story. But like, oh my god, like, I don't know if those of you who have read Wheel of Time, but Robert Jordan is one of the greatest contemporary authors of our time, and this thing is like, I want to say like 14 books long at like 1,200 pages a piece, so it is a hefty fucking read, but it is amazing.
See, what else? I'm trying to think of books and stuff. Make the actual Dresden Files, the book versions, not that shit we got on Sci-Fi with terrible. Do that. Make actually, how about this? Make an actual real adaptation of Starship Troopers, because the movie version we saw, as amazing as it was, kind of different than the book had mechs in it. You know.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying as amazing as it was, because I was about to argue with you. I was like,
no,
hey
Brett.
now, okay.
No, Brett, I was one of those dudes, man. When I saw Starship Troopers, I'm like, this looks like the stupidest fucking movie.
And I was like, dude, this thing is awesome. It looks awesome.
Yeah, and man, he was like, let's just go see it. I'm like, fine, I'll go see it. I walked out of that theater, I'm like, man, this was the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life. I love Starship Troopers. So, but I would like to,
and turn it up a notch.
Yeah, but I would like to see like a real version of it, you know, or like a closer version. I want to see those mechs, you know. What else? That would be cool. What else? Maybe like, I don't know. I can't think because I haven't read too many books. How about this? Make The Hobbit the way it was supposed to be. One movie. That's all you need.
You can edit. I mean, they could edit the film, which
somebody did it already. Apparently, a 3-hour cut. Go ahead, Brad. What are you gonna say?
Tony, what about a like a Tolkien-like trilogy, live-action adaptation?
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. I know. No, don't. You're gonna get me too hyped up right now. Don't say it.
Of Akira.
Already in the works.
Oh.
Yeah. Actually thinking about something completely different, but that was actually what I was thinking about. Akira, the whole fucking series, beginning to end, the actual manga done. Yeah, but it's already happening. I thought you were gonna say the Silmarillion, Brett. Like, no, don't. Like, I don't know how you do the Silmarillion, man. Like, maybe you could do the First Age. That kind of has a story you could follow, but that would be tough, man.
It would have to be a story based on the Silmarillion.
Yeah, you know.
You have to almost do an anthology, like a series of short stories based in the universe.
Yeah, because that's what it has to be, because there is no central character, because it's literally like thousands, maybe millions of years and shit, you know?
Yeah, it's really created the mythology. Yeah. It's a damn fine Wikipedia read, too.
Yeah, I've actually read that book several times. It's great. I was like, hey, that's my Bible, you know, because it's the whole creation.
Even after you read it, like you just go on to Wikipedia, you're like, what about Sauron? And you start clicking names and clicking places and clicking times, and then you're lost and you're like, has it been 6 hours? When did I grow a beard?
There was this one site I used to go to. It's called The World of Arda. That same thing happened, dude. You just get lost in it, clicking on links for days. This was before Wikipedia, too. Before that shit came about, I was like, damn, you spent the whole day just reading up on this shit, you know? But yeah, the Silmarillion would be tough. What else? I don't know. There's a bunch of shit out there, but it would be cool.
How about Knights of the Old Republic? I'd like to see a Knights of the Old Republic movie. I'm pretty sure I've said that before, but...
Yeah. I mean, we got asked a question about that. Say, yeah, that would be cool, like a whole trilogy on that. But you know, I guess based off a specific book, Brett.
No, video game.
Okay. No, I mean, okay, no, but remember, they want like, hey, take a book and make it into another medium. So it would be it. So you would want a Knights of the Old Republic book made into a video game, you know. Something like that.
Okay, not a video game being made into a books, novels, or manga. So literary works being adapted.
Yeah, that's why I went Shadows of the Empire, because I read that book and it was great. Not the. I know it was a video game already. I know it was a video game, people.
Mm-hmm.
I hear it's in the works, and I don't know where it is or if it got abandoned. But I'd love to see an adaptation of Lock and Key.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard that too.
It's weird. Like, it just kind of dropped off the face of the earth, you know?
Mm-hmm. Also, in terms of comic books, Siegfried would make a pretty sweet movie.
Yes, it would. Well, they did. Well, Siegfried did have that short. They were working on a movie for that.
Yeah,
we're talking about Alex Elise's one, for Siegfried,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. They only had that one trailer, but they were supposedly working on a movie. In fact, isn't that why you were pissed off? Because half the book is concept.
Yeah, half the book was like the making of the trailer, and I was like, son of a bitch! Like, I was expecting, I was like, oh, sweet, there's a movie, and there's a book. Like, no, there's half a book, and they want a movie. And then they showed you all about the making of the thing that they wanted to do. And it was like, son of a bitch.
It's funny about that book, though. The original release of Siegfried did not have that additional portion at the end. They added that when it came to the States.
Mm.
And there's other books of that, but for some reason they haven't released them here.
Oh, that's infuriating.
I think I have the second and maybe the third.
Can you read them? Are they good?
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah, I mean it's essentially adaptation of Siegfried, the that classic story.
I like the direction they take with it. It has a very classic. I can't put my finger on, not quite Disney feel.
Oh,
But
by the way,
I'd love to make it just that animated style. That'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say Invincible. I want Netflix to do an animated Invincible series. That would be fucking awesome.
I can definitely see that. I mean, especially with all the Kirkmanisms going on now.
Exactly. But it has to be on something on Netflix. It needs to be brutal and hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be on Saturday morning cartoon. Even though I don't even know if they have Saturday morning cartoons anymore.
They do.
Okay, that's good because I know
I'm
they
still
took
sometimes
away.
Up on Saturday mornings.
I know they got rid of afternoon cartoons.
Yeah, that actually happened around 9/11 time.
It's kind of interesting, Tony. I've noticed that they started pandering towards their demographic a little bit more because even like weekday mornings when Cartoon Network rolls out of Adult Swim, I've noticed that the shows they'll put on, because I oftentimes have the TV on in the background, are the more adult of the cartoon shows. Like the ones that adults tend to like more, like they'll show a Regular Show and Teen Titans Go, and it'll slowly devolve into more kiddie as it goes on. But even around 6 a.m., they know that there's still adults awake and watching, so they're going to show their more high age demographic stuff. They're like, because it's weird to see Regular Show come on at like 6 a.m. and be like, who the fuck is watching this at 6 a.m.? You know who's watching that at 6 a.m. You know exactly who's watching that at 6 a.m.
Yeah,
23-year-old drunk people. No, not even me. No. I have a very specific tattoo clientele that love that show, and they're all around 23, heavy drinkers, pretty heavy stoners. And if you watch the show, it's very clear. Like they get shit hammered on soda that they carry around in brown paper bags. I'm pretty sure the characters are spin-off deadbeats in their late 20s, early 30s. And then the story is basically like they're far past college and they've not done anything with their life. They just sit around and sleep all day, and like it's pretty obviously like dirtbag stoner comedy just wrapped up in a cartoon shell.
Oh man, yeah. I as far as I'm concerned, a lot of those cartoons, big ones, are for fucking stoners, man. Like that Steven Universe shit. I'm like, come on, man, that's for fucking stoners right there.
I don't know who Steven Universe is for. It's not particularly my bag. I have it on my on record because I've been told several times that it's kind of a high water mark in terms of storyboard progression. So it's something to study. So I watch it. I do not get it, and I do not understand who exactly that show is for. It's kind of got this Adventure Time kind of is the same thing. I'm enthralled with Adventure Time not because I like the show, but because I want to know what it is. Like, what is the secret sauce in this? And like every time you watch it, like you stop thinking. It's the weirdest thing. Like it's this kind of delta wave takes over your brain. Your head gets all warm and fuzzy, and you just kind of stop thinking and zone out. It's the weirdest thing, and I don't know how they do it, but Steven Universe kind of has that same thing. It's the emotional equivalent of like having the show pat you on the head and go, shh, it's okay.
Oh man, that's hilarious. All
so
right,
I didn't get to answer that. So it was like what book or whatever you want to see adapted into a game? What was that?
Your game, or basically what book or manga or whatever would you like to see adapted into a movie, film, or game?
What on paper would you like to put on a screen?
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know. I mean, here's the weirdest thing. A lot of the films that are being made now are the things that I've always wanted to see in film.
A year ago, I would have said Deadpool.
I would have also said a good Daredevil series.
And it happened.
So yeah, I mean, it's good times. I mean, now I guess now I want to see some of the stuff that isn't as established get some love.
Like what?
I don't know because I can't remember anything off the top of my head. Those things,
Those things I like.
Those things,
Yeah, it's like you always pick up those crazy books and stuff. Which one of those would you like to see made?
I don't have any of them by my desk right now, so I can't.
How about East and West?
East and West. I haven't read that.
Oh my God! I want a new Tank Girl.
Yeah, an actual good Tank Girl film.
Yeah.
As far as though the original Tank Girl is a total guilty pleasure.
Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely a guilty pleasure for I think like one of the reasons like it's not the same thing, it's a completely different thing, but I still love it. But I would love to see a full-length feature Tank Girl animated by Jamie Hewitt.
That would be cool too. Essentially, it looks like the gorillas.
Yeah, I would give my left foot for that.
I don't know why he's never actually developed that into
He got burned so bad by the first
movie.
Tank Girl movie. Like essentially, his entire creative control was relegated to the animated bit in the beginning, and then
and the stuff toward the end, which was like the best part of the film.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was still like a hallmark, pivotal moment in my life. The first time I saw that, I was like, I think I know what I want to do. So yeah, like I would, but he got burned so badly by that and put such a bad taste in his mouth that he's refused to work with Hollywood since then, which is kind of a damn shame. So yeah, and he's refused to license or work with Hollywood on pretty much anything. So it'd be great, yeah, if they took his animation abilities and just did kind of a Gorillaz-esque Tank Girl feature-length film. That would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But that won't happen because Hollywood sucks.
I mean, it just takes the right person at the right time to kind of approve it. You know what I mean? Like how did Deadpool get made? Because there was a bunch of people in there who had influential positions saying, "We want this. We really want this." You know?
Yes, we want to make this, so we're going to make this. Has anybody read Chew?
I read the first issue. That would be pretty cool if they make that like into a TV series, man.
Yeah, I would watch that as a TV series.
Yeah, Chew is pretty nuts. Oh, here's a fancy one that will never happen. An animated Pride of Baghdad. The fucked up Lion King.
Yeah, Pride of Baghdad. That'd be an interesting one to see.
Yeah, Brett, if you haven't read it, you got to read it. It's fucking awesome.
I have not read it.
You know, let's go really crazy. Sandman. Anything made of Sandman.
You mean the Sandman?
No, not from Ghostbusters, the animated series, but Sandman by Neil Gaiman.
That would be cool. That would be an anthology series too.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple Sandman movies, and Sandman was never my bag, but they were weird as shit. I will give you that.
Sandman movies? They've never made a Sandman movie.
Yeah, they never have.
No, it wasn't a Sandman movie. It was just a Neil Gaiman movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is Neil Gaiman. Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it the one with the De Niro was called Star something or other? Star.
I think maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that one was fun. It had a very Princess Bride feel to it.
Yeah, it was weird, but it was good. Just not so much my thing.
De Niro playing a gay pirate. He was playing a gay like airship pilot. Sorry.
What was the other one I saw? It was about some little girl. I think she went to some other world or something. Then she didn't learn her lesson. I don't know. All right, let's wrap this shit up. Thank you for watching and listening. Leave us your questions in the comments section on the Coalition or on YouTube so we can answer them on the next week's show. Be sure to follow the Coalition at thecoalition.com. Also help support the site by donating to our Patreon page. Subscribe to Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and the YouTubes. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and on Twitter at Throwdown Show. Links are available in the description below. Once again, our show is Tony Polanco and joined by Emilio Lopez.
I will see you later, guys.
And Brett Murdock.
Keep it real, folks.
All right, guys, we'll see you around Throwdown, episode 73, later.
Deuces.
Bye.